Come on in, April. Harriet. Come on in, y'all. Special Father's Day Sunday encouragement today. And it's good to see everybody. All right, we got some folks coming in. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Sunday Encouragement with your boy, Carl C. Anderson. Hashtag it's okay to work on you. Yes. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Hey, April, how you doing? Want to welcome everybody, man, to the special edition of Sunday Encouragement, man. I want to wish all the brothers, all the funkles like, like myself, like we're not fathers, but we're the best, next thing. So, send a shout to everybody who has kids. I want to send out, shout out to all those brothers, man, that for whatever reason they're doing for their kids, can't see their kids, because we got a lot of that happening too. I wouldn't even send out a shot to those fathers that don't do anything for their kids, because you know what? I don't know. Thanks, Bob. Happy Father's Day, sir. For those that, don't want to do right by your child, man, I think to me that's probably the worst thing. One of the worst things you can do, next to not loving your mother, doing right by your mother, is not taking care of your kids that you have. So, Anyway, I ask you guys to bear with me. I want to share a story with you guys. It's in line with Father's Day. Definitely has to do with something about my dad and my mom. So, anywho, with the weight loss that I've gone through, and I'm officially since February 2019, for those that didn't see the video on Friday, I have officially lost 100 pounds since February 2019. So, whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, so big ups. Thank the Lord for that, because it's been a long road. But I thank God for just due diligence to continue and not give up. So, but I'll come back to that. First of all, I want to share this story. With a lot of with the weight loss, like I said, a lot of times folks always focus on the physical side of, right, just the physical being, right, and the eating habits and things of that nature. But we don't realize there is an emotional side to it as well. I had to identify years ago that I was an emotional eater. I was the type of person that I just, when I got mad or got pissed off, whatever the case is, I consumed food. I wasn't verbal. I didn't really act out unless I was really pushed to that, that place of bursting, right? So years ago, my father died. It's been 25 years since my father passed, and years ago, hey John, hey brother man, happy Father's Day to you, sir. There was a lot of, how can I put this? Whenever a mother or father passes, right, and the kids are young, right, you can imagine the emotional stress, right, that can occur, and that can fall upon kids, right, and especially if there's not a balance there to help them get over it. Thank you, sir. To address those emotions, those feelings that they're having with the loss, right? Especially if it's a sudden loss, right? Then they'll tend to definitely, sir. Then they'll tend to, I wouldn't say react, but they'll tend to, you know, um, they'll react in different ways, right? And they can lash out at the parents or society in itself, or like me, they just consume it. Like, I'm fine, I'm good, but I'll eat my emotions, right? So, well, anyway, my mom and my dad had interesting, relationship, right? It's my father's third marriage, my mom's second marriage, and so I'm asking y'all, just bear with me because I got to set up some of the back, some of the backstory, the back end of it, so you guys understand where I'm going, so I can get to my point. So with that being said, my parents had an interesting relationship, very loving, caring. They had their ups and downs, just like normal, relationships, or let's just say this, just like any marriage is going to come with, like I said, the ups and downs, trials, tribulations, things of that, for better, for worse, all of that, right? The vows, to death do you part. That's what happened with my mom and dad. So one of the things that I noticed early on, growing up, and especially as I got older, but especially early on, my mom was not, I wouldn't say she wasn't a supporter, but music and the whole music scene and all of that was not really her thing, right? She went to church and, she was a lot of singings and stuff, unless it was a group that she really liked and, that she was into, then, she would go, But for the most part, I went with my dad. I was always around my dad. That's why I said my dad was my biggest influence in my career. He really helped cultivate, nurture, invest in my music career. So, what's up, Del Rey? Well, Annapolis finest, representing the West Coast. Good to see you, brother. So, as years went along, and I saw how the relationship concerned when it came to the music, right, and what my father was doing in the music and ministry and stuff, and saw how my mom really didn't support, or wasn't a big advocate for it, right? It was like, it made me wonder at times, subconsciously, like I really wasn't taking it in. It wasn't like I was looking at moms like, oh, she's evil, but what's up, Willie? Sorry for your loss, brother. I saw your post, man. But one of the things is that I realized was that subconsciously I didn't realize how I was taking that in and how I was taking on that fight, right? Subconsciously that my father was dealing with and had with my mom, right? That, not physical, but that battle, right? When it came to doing what, God's placed on your heart to do, right? So that's a little backstory. To add to that, my father really didn't have an outlet outside of work, and his outlet, the only outlet that he really had was ministry, church, and singing, going with a group or going around with different groups, supporting things of that nature, though. Because my father was a father. I mean, my father, he was home, when he worked, before he retired, he was working, come home, but he was still doing for us, like nothing. I mean, both parents, so it wasn't like my mother didn't do. Both of my parents did for us, okay? And one of the things, and that's why I thank God for having that balance of understanding, what it is to work together in a relationship. So keep that part in the back of your mind, okay? So 95 rolls around. My father is now at his deathbed, he's on his deathbed, and I remember the conversations that my mother would have leading up to my father passing, and especially when he wasn't in the house, was she would say to me, because I was still gung-ho about the music, right? I played in occupation up until December of 94. Yeah, it was 94. We came back, I think they did like one rehearsal. We came back around the spring of 95. That didn't pan out too well. No, I think I left at the end of the year. Yeah, after that good run we had, I left. I really started getting back into church and everything. So conversations my mother would have, especially in the heat of the moment, like, getting, you can imagine emotions were running high because we didn't know that daddy was dying. My mother did, and so many things going on, right? My mother will always say to me, you better make sure, you better hope your father doesn't close his eyes anytime soon, because that music thing ain't gonna be happening once he's gone. I was like, huh? What? Music thing ain't happening. Oh, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, remind you now, I'm still that meek and mild-mannered child. Stuff is being said to me. Of course, I'm like, no, you can't do that. You know how it is with a child. You try to take a child's toy, or cut them from the activities and things of that nature. Especially when there's no really valid reason for you to, in the child's mind, to think like, why are you doing this to me? Well, father dies. And one of the biggest things for me was I was really getting involved in the church. I really wasn't doing the band thing. Wasn't even playing out in the streets like that, but I was still involved in the church. And one of the things that I realized that I didn't realize until maybe about 5 years later. So it was about 2000. I didn't realize how much weight that I was consuming. Now imagine, I'm growing up and I'm going through the ups and downs of life. Between 18 to 25, my music career kind of was doing like this, right? There was no consistency. It really wasn't, a clear point goal or, direction that I was going in. It's just kind of like whenever it came through the door, it was like, all right, let's roll. Not realizing that I was holding on to something. I didn't realize, right? Now, you can imagine, I talked about this earlier in the week about how my father on his deathbed, I didn't go see my dad a lot in the hospital. My father, we were working. Both my sister and I was working. She just started working. I was working. We was both still in school. So I was in my junior year of high school. Adrian was in ninth grade. So ultimately, when we, I'm working, my mother told my father, look, I don't want to put any pressure on them. I want them to be able to still have a balance, them to focus on school, focus on their job, things of that nature. And I can only imagine how this is affecting them. And I don't want to feel like I'm pressuring them into come and see you, because, kids seeing their parents or whatever, seeing anyone, loved one that they care about and love, tubes and things of that nature. The hospital is not always the most, positive environment for a child. You know what I mean? Especially in that respect. So I held on to that. That was one. I held on to the guilt of not going to see my dad, especially when he called one day to the house and he was like, why haven't you seen me? Why haven't you come and see me? And I was like, and I'm thinking like, and that was playing out in my head. But there was something else I was holding on to. Didn't realize it. Okay. So, 2000 to about 2003, we went through some changes. We lost our house, lost our home that we grew up in, and we lost our home. So, where I grew up, where I established things, where I grew up, what to be home. You know what I'm saying? That was done. It was over. And we had to realize what it was to not be together. Hey, cuz, love you. What it was not to be together for the first time. So think about this. We're about roughly 7 or 8 years removed from Daddy passing. I'm holding the guilt of not, I'm still, holding on to that, right, for some reason, right? I'm not being there and thinking that maybe that could have changed, something, right? Then now we're dealing with now we're dealing with the change of environment. Well, now that those dynamics of losing home and not having that place of comfort, right? God knows, man, I don't know about y'all, but I don't wish that on my worst enemy. Not to have it, not knowing where you're gonna go, or just not having that place of peace, especially somewhere that you've known all your life, right? So all of those things are happening, and I'm still holding on to what I'm about to share with y'all in a few minutes. Just give me some time. Give me a few minutes. So ultimately, all this time, I'm what? Consuming my emotions through food. And occasionally I'm looking in the mirror or whatever. I see clothes are getting bigger on me, But, it's not really like a big deal, right? So 2003 was a door opener for me. So from 2003 to 2005, now my career is starting to shape, starting to really form, become something, right? It's starting to shape. I had been with some groups and dealt with some artists, but I get a call one day from Arch Gerard Jr. Arch says, "Hey man, look man, I'm about to really step out on my own. I want you to be a part of the group." Blah blah blah. I was like, all right, cool. And all this time, leading up to that, I always felt like I did have a place of knowing. I did have a sense of knowing what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional musician, right? Just didn't have my goals in line. I mean, I didn't have a plan in place to really focus and a direct goal of where I wanted to go and how to get there. So like I said, I'm just riding the bus. Anyway, 2005 starts to take shape and form. Relationship-wise, at this time, my relationships with women were like, cool, whatever. I had a few girlfriends during the course. Probably the first couple of years after Dad passed, I really wasn't dating. So around 99, 2000, I went through a traumatic experience. When I say traumatic is that I started to date older women around 18, 19. Actually 16, but that's another story. By the time I was 18, 19, I was dating older women. So now I'm dating women like 8 to 10 years older than me. So you can imagine that dynamic. So I hope y'all keep track of all this. So with that being said, I went through a real traumatic experience when I was like 21. Now, I mean, you talk about somebody being whooped and being like really scarred by a relationship, right? Like, I mean, every other word was this woman's name, okay? It didn't matter. We could be talking about the trash in the street, and somehow, somewhere, I would bring her name up. You can only imagine. So prior to those two relationships, I was going with someone. We broke up. It didn't pan out too well. Well, no. After those relationships, I started dating someone that I really cared about. Thought we were gonna get married. It was just like one of those things. But of course, I'm still holding on to the dreams of my music and blah blah blah. I want to be that. So, let's say 2005. Now things are starting to take shape and form. Hey, Diamond. And I see my music career starting to shape, right? Life is getting a little better for me. I'm working, got a decent of a job. Got a car, Things are kind of like, as they say, leveling out, right? 2006, 2005. April 2005. My aunt, I hope I'm getting the right year together. I'm getting this year right. 2005. It was 2005. Yes, 2005. The baby aunt, my close aunt, one of my aunts that I'm really close with, she dies in a car accident. Wow. So now we're back to what? The eating, the emotional eating. Because remember now, I'm only dealing with I'm addressing my feelings and my emotions through eating, relationships, and what comes with relationships and those things of that nature. So, started noticing something after that relationship that I was in 2005 to like roughly the middle part of 2007. And then I met a young lady, and we started dating for 5 years. And going through all this, now you can imagine I'm going through all this stuff inside, right? Going through all this stuff. I'm holding on to the guilt, still holding on to that guilt from my dad. Uh, I'm still going through the transformation or the transition that we went through from losing the home, our family home, to now being in another environment. We're going through that period of time that we weren't together, and then coming back together as a family. So, of course, any period of time that you spend away from somebody, when you finally do come back, there are certain things and dynamics that are there. And if you don't address them, what they're going to do, they're going to start showing up and saying, hello, I'm here. So, anywho, I didn't realize, roughly about 3 years ago, I'm going to jump a little bit because I want to get to my point because my time is almost up. I was gaining so much weight, and by 2010, I was diagnosed with diabetes, type 2 diabetes. So, I'm talking to my doctor, and my doctor's like, so, Mr. Anderson, what do you think, I'm saying to myself, what do you cause? What do you think is happening for this to be? He said, well, Mr. Anderson, so many things that could be going on. You could be stressing, change of, job or whatever the hell is, whatever. So you could imagine, I'm going through so many different things. There's so many different dynamics that are happening, right? Guilt from dad's death, transition, right? And I'm holding on to this thing that I'm about to reveal. About 3 years ago, roughly, about 4 years ago, I was laying in the bed, it was around summertime, and just thinking, I wasn't necessarily in no particular place, but I'm thinking, and God reveals to me that what I was holding on to was, I had took on the fight that my father, my mother was, my father was dealing with my mom, about the music, about the ministry, that fight. And what happened was, I would have those issues in relationships. So whenever a female, whenever my girlfriend would say something or buck at the sister, or buck at me doing music, or had issues with that, and because you can imagine the conversation I had. Well, what if the music doesn't work? What's your plan B? And I'm thinking in my head, I ain't got no plan B. This is it. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm going to be doing. Forget all that other stuff. So, I didn't realize that I took on the love and protection and caring for my mom, right? That my dad would definitely want me to do. But I was taking on that fight. And what happened was, even though it wasn't necessarily happening with she and I, but it was just the female aspect of it. And the female aspect of it being in a relationship, right? And seeing those dynamics play out with my mom and dad, right? And now I'm seeing how it's playing out in relationships between me and women that I'm dating, right? And I'm thinking to myself, all these commercial break. I would never ever hate on or talk bad about anybody I've gone with in the past, because they were all great women. Unfortunately, things just didn't work out. They didn't pan out. A lot of them had moved on, married, got kids and everything, and I wish them well. So that was one piece of the puzzle that I was able to rid of and release myself from. The second piece was, once I realized that my mom not only cared and loved, and she just was protecting me. She just wanted to make sure that I was fine, and that she didn't want to see the same pitfalls that my father went through and had experience with the music business. She just didn't want to see me go through that. And understandably, even with everything that was going on, I knew my mother loved me. So it wasn't like I didn't think my mother didn't love me, okay? But she was just making sure that her baby boy was fine, So I was able to release that, okay? And then I finally actually released the fact that the guilt of not going to see my dad, I had to let that be and let it die with my dad when he passed. There was no need to hold on to that. And that I had to have peace of myself to know that my father didn't hold that against me. And at the end of the day, he would want what was best for Adrian and I. Now I have other siblings, but I'm just saying Adrian and I were the babies. We were the babies at the time. So I say all of that to say that a year and some change ago, I ultimately had to make a decision with my health. And I was finally at a place of peace and at a place of freedom because I finally released a lot of those things that were attaching themselves to me and that I had been holding on to for years, never letting go. A lot of those chains that were holding me, bounding me, as they say, right? Tasha Cobbs would say, break these chains, man. And I had to honestly say that if I hadn't released all of that stuff and went through that period, that process, and think about it, I went through some process, a period of depression. If I hadn't gone through all of that and been able to really give it to God and trust God and know that God, I'm gonna give it to you, and I'm not taking it back, I wouldn't have been in a place of the mindset to really take the initiative to do what was best for my health. And I wouldn't be 100 pounds lighter right now. So think about this. I was able to release the 150, 200 pounds of emotional stress and distress and heartaches and pains and, disappointments in relationships in the music business and things of that nature, and even in family. I was able to really release and get that off of my back and get that out of my system. Then I was able to address the physical weight. So I just want to say to all of you guys, to all the fathers, to all of those that are going through, and hashtag it's okay to work on you. You have to address both. I want you to understand that, I'm moving on. I'm in a place of peace now, realizing that I'm single and I'm happy about that. But I'm understanding that the importance of what it is as I move, when God sees fit to bring that woman, which I really pray is my wife, that comes into my life, that I have addressed them, have really dealt with those things. That, I'm dealing with, I'm addressing those things now. That I won't be taking that baggage into another relationship. I've asked God for forgiveness and asked, as well as apologize to a lot of exes, because at that time, they didn't know what was going on. They didn't realize a lot of the stuff that was happening. You know what I'm saying? They didn't realize the emotional distress I was going through, right? And a lot of the baggage I was carrying. Because, a lot of times when we don't understand, in order to deal with our baggage, that means we have to expose ourselves. We have to address it, and not to say we got to expose it to the world like people do on social media today, but we have to expose it, to ourselves in order to address it. So I'm truly here to tell you that, I'm free. Thank God I'm free, man. Praise the Lord, I'm free. And, I have 98 more pounds to lose. And I'm praying and asking you guys for your prayers. I honor my dad, and knowing that I'm honoring my dad today because, for one, I'm honoring my dad today. Now more than ever is because my dad's health, if he had took just the initiative, more of an initiative to do right by his health, my father would be here today, possibly, okay? And so what I was able to do to help me deal with the guilt and free myself from the guilt and not being there more for him before he passed was, I said to myself, I'm going to stay on top of my health. I'm going to do the necessary things to make sure my health stays in line. If I can do anything to honor his name and honor his memory, his legacy, it's that I'm going to do right by my health. So even at the time, I didn't have kids, but there was still a potential chance for me to have kids. I'm like, well, I want to make sure that I'm here for my kids. But now even more, because I have nieces and nephews and great nieces and nephews, that I am doing the necessary things for my health so I can be here for them. So I can be the funkle. I can be the great funkle to them, right? And I truly am honored. I thank God for my mother. My mother now is we were able to mend our relationship. Um, you know, she's not the emotional person, but when I brought it to her attention, she was like, "Oh, it's okay. I'm fine. I accept your apology." But you know, um, but I love her to death. She's always been that rock, you know, and even in the midst of everything, my mother has always been there. And surely I know that anything, whatever she said, even if it was in a moment of you know, a very heated moment for her, my mother was always passionate about how she felt and her love for us, and she always wanted the best for her kids. Always, still does. You know, that hasn't changed. So I thank you guys for staying on just a little. See, I was able to get that all in 7 minutes. Lord have mercy. Glad y'all stayed on a little longer with me today. I really want to encourage the fathers, man. I really want to encourage the mothers to continue to encourage the fathers. I want to send. I want the brothers to understand. If you have a wife that's understanding, that's in your life, and she's helping you and wants to see the best of you, out of you, in your health, your finances, your walk with God, your social life, man, hold on to her, right? Hold on to her. Continue to cultivate, nurture, invest in her as well. Wives, continue to cultivate, nurture, invest in him as well, right? It's two-party. It's a two-party system. You want love from a man. If a man doesn't understand love, if a man doesn't understand how to show and give love, then be that example. Be that example. You know, some brothers weren't raised to really express themselves and show their emotions and things. Look at me, I'm 41, I'll be 42 next month. And I surely thank God that every day I can grow, I learn from experience and understand the importance, what it is to express yourself and put your emotions and things and how you feel about things on the table. And not be ashamed of that. I'm just being real with y'all. Being real with y'all. But anyway, I digress. Also, I want to let you guys know, I want to thank you guys for your prayers. I had to resign from Amazon earlier this week. The situation with my feet was just becoming really crazy. And even with the new shoes and insoles, it just was like too much being on my feet for 10 hours and stuff. So I just ask you guys to keep me in your prayers as I move on, you know, to find another job. And, you know, since things are opening back up, you know, I may be able to find a job at a club dancing somewhere. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Just joking. Anywho, but seriously, you guys have a great Father's Day weekend. Rest of the Father's Day weekend. Continue to uplift, respect, and honor your father and mother, but definitely today, where I'm just wanting to encourage you to continue to uplift and encourage your dads. And for those that are not, that their dads have passed on, I sit with you on the same bus and know that it, as people say, it doesn't get easier, but I thank God with my relationship with Christ, it's allowed me to understand that my father, in spite of his good and his bad, thank you, Pearl, you too. In spite of his good and bad, he was still the dad that God gave me. So I'm going to honor him in every which way I can, through my music, through my life, through my walk with Christ. And look, understand this, y'all. It's a process, okay? I'm telling y'all, it's been 25 years, so think about it. Now, I don't wish 25 years on anyone else that's going through this. I pray that you deal with it and address it, that you address it earlier, but it took me 25 years to get to this. You know, I didn't gain that 200 pounds or so that I was, almost pushing 500. I didn't gain that overnight. It was over a period of time. So look at, you know, y'all heard the story. Y'all saw there were a lot of different dynamics going on. But now, I thank God that I was able to release it and get rid of it. And now I'm free. And I don't need those things. I don't need that vice of Big Macs and fries and 6-piece wings. Yes. Yes. Gatorades and sodas, you know. drinking sodas like this size, right? Right? Killing it. I'm drinking water now. Living healthier. And so like I said, I just want to encourage you guys to continue to do what's best for you and continue to work on you, right? We've been in it for 6 months now. We got 6 months more to go. So y'all hanging with me there. And I'm already praying about what the theme is for next year, but we still got 6 months to go. And I encourage you guys, even if you haven't started to do and pursue what God's called you to do for this year, you still have more time to get it done. So don't waste it. All right? Love y'all. Be blessed. Y'all have a great week. See you Friday from Lyrics of the Heart. Friday morning at 10 o'clock. And I really pray that this story has encouraged someone to address some things and to give life another chance and to take it one day at a time. So love y'all, man. Be blessed. Peace.